Hello everyone, so in this video I want to show you how to use the query language in EMP because it's the most useful and flexible way to get data and show it into EMP. So first of all, you have here the query editor that you can use to create your queries, and when you go to the manual, you have here the query section and you have the cheat sheet here. So I have the cheat sheet open here on the right, just for me as a little bit a guide what I will tell you in this video. So then I would just jump into it and show you what you can do with it. So first of all, we have different concepts. So what is a query? A query here is just a little bit of code where you can get data from various sources. For example, so we have here the command source. Command also always is after a pipe, and you can use control space to get the content assist. And there, in this case, we have, as an autocomplete options, we have the various sources that we have here. So one source that I often use for testing and demonstration is the random source, and it just creates random data for you to play around and try different things with the query language. So we can click here, execute, to execute the query, and you see you get here just some random test data. Another way to execute the query is actually Control Enter. It's just a shortcut for so you don't have to use the mouse and be a little bit faster. So a query can have multiple queries. So let's say we have here number of records is, let's say, 4. So we only have 4 records in this one, and we can copy this whole thing and create a second query by terminating the first one with a semicolon. So we have a second query. Let's say we do here 7 records. So we have one query and a second query. So we have 2 results in this single execution. So a command is basically this here. So everything that comes after a pipe I call a command here. And there are various commands. You can make a pipe and then use Control Shift to search for Control Space, excuse me, to search for different commands. So let's say we want to search for format, and then we see what kind of commands we have here. You also have the whole list of commands and sources and functions in the manual. So you see here on the query sources, you have commands, and you also have the functions. So you find all the details here as well. So now what we call a record here is basically just one row in a table. That's just like one record of data. The fields is basically one cell in a column. And with time range, we can set here with this time range picker. And there are various ways how you can integrate the time range into your query. The whole thing is processed in memory. This has one advantage, that it's very fast. The big disadvantage of this kind of approach is that it's not big data. So that's a limitation of this query language compared to other systems that if you want to process millions or a whole lot of data, it's not too easy with this query language because everything has to be done in memory. But for most use cases where you do not need big data, this query language is very, very useful. There are various limits that we can also increase. For example, so we have this source random, and the limit is something that is normally set by the system administrator. So let's see, 50,000 records is still working. Let's see if we get 60,000. So we see here one or more sources have reached their fetch limit. So this is basically a limit to prevent that we just take a crazy amount of data and try to process it and show it on a screen, and also that we don't overload the sources where we fetch the data from. Nevertheless, there is like a default limit, which in this case is 50,000. And we can change this limit on the source by just using the limit parameter. And for example, say, okay, good, give me 100,000 records. So let's see. So now we have 100,000 records, and we didn't get the limit message here, but as soon as we go over this limit, we also get the message here that not all data has been fetched. The whole thing, because can be CPU intensive, so pay attention when you create queries. It can have an impact on your server. So some basics, as I already told you, with Control Spacebar, you can get content assist. You get some default information about the command or the function that you are currently using here. And if this is not enough and you want to have more details, you can go to Open Manual, and then the manual will get open. This can be very useful to just copy-paste examples directly from the manual instead of having to write everything yourself. We also have Control Enter, what is to execute the query. And we have Control Up Down to copy the current line or the selected line. So here I can just go and with Control Up and Down, Control Alt Up and Down, I can duplicate the lines that I'm on or that I have selected. So it makes it easy to duplicate lines. So we have for filtering, there is a filter command. By the way, most of the examples that you will find in the documentation are copy-pastable, so you can copy-paste them and execute them, and they will normally work. So as you see, I have here a filter. Last name should match this regular expression, so it should contain son. And likes tiramisu should not be false. And as we see, we have the last name, everything with son, and likes tiramisu is true or null. So now we have another command for setting values. So let's see what we have here. Now we copy the whole thing here. It's easier. excuse me. So like this. So we create 100 random records of type series. So in this case, the random source has also a parameter series, a parameter type. You can also see here, maybe, yeah, exactly. So we have parameters of random type, default, number, arrays, and one is series. And if we turn this one off, this is one way to make a comment, to turn off a whole command. We see we have these fields, so time, warehouse, item, class, count, price, box, size, percent, and total. When we now use the set command, for example, the square of count, and to concatenate item with item, and we execute this, we get these additional two fields of that contains the square of count and the concatenated string that says what kind of item we have here. Good, so we can remove fields by using the remove command. So let me turn this off. So we see we have an index field and we have a URL field and then field, and if we remove it, we have so then they are gone. So good. So we also have a keep command. With the keep command, we just specify which fields we want to keep instead of having to remove everything we don't want. We can sort the whole thing. So we have a source random with 500 records, and we say, let us sort by first name and last name. I don't want to have a reverse sort, but I want to reverse the sorting of null. So we get here everything by first name and then by last name. Now if we say here true, then the first name that we get first is the one with Z instead of A. And if we reverse nulls to true, if there is a null value, it should appear first, but I think there are no null values. Oh, here. Yeah, so no, then they will appear last as far as it looks. Yeah, so if you reverse nulls, they will come last and not first. So this is how you can use the sort command to sort your data. Now you can get distinct values by using the distinct command. So we have 5,000 records, but the result contains only 196 because we say we just want to have distinct value by last name and likes tiramisu. So basically we only get values distinct by last name and likes tiramisu. So this combination should always be distinct. Okay. Here is a basic example how you can do statistics. What can be useful depending on what kind of source you're using. If you're getting data from a database, it can make sense that you actually do the statistics directly within your SQL. instead of doing it here, just to distribute the load and do not use the capacity of your EMP server. So if you execute this, so we have statistics by last name and likes tiramisu. And as we see, we get here count, mean, average, max, sum, median, and 90 percentile. What we have here, and we sort the whole thing by last name. Now another thing, let's say we only want to have it by last name and not by likes tiramisu, then we can do this as well. So with this you can very fast define your statistics that you want to get. Now comments, we have various ways how you can create comments in this query language. So as soon as the parser sees a hash, everything behind the hash on this line will be a comment, also at the end of the line. You can turn a whole command off by just writing off in front of it. You see this here quite well. So just this command until the next pipe is ignored. So this works, and this is turning it off. And you can use multi-line comments with /* and /*, and this is also a nice way if you want to, from a certain point in your query, want to disable the whole thing. For example, you just want to see the source, you can just put /*. You don't have to put the end tag, the ending of this comment, and you can still execute the query up to this point, and this will everything be ignored. That's quite useful for debugging and seeing what's going on in a query when you're analyzing it. Okay, so now this query language, it doesn't only fetch data and filters it and sorts it and stuff like that. It's also made to actually define how you want to display this whole data. So, for example, here, I can say that with the command format field, the field value, so this field here, it should be uppercase, it should have a prefix, mighty balance, and it should have a postfix $. That's what we see here. So if I turn this off, let's use the method we just saw, like this, then you see the value is just a number, and with the formatting, it will have added a prefix and some formatting. This can go quite far, so when we go here, you, like with Control spacebar, and see in the content assist what we have. So we have various formatters here. We can align the whole thing. We can say format this as a boolean. We can use a kind of a switch case statement, CSS date, decimals, duration link, and so on. Let me open the manual and let's see if we have here some nice example. For example, the case formatter. So that's now the nice thing about this whole manual, and that you can just copy paste whatever you want. You can just see very fast how the stuff works and test it for yourself. So We create some random data with numbers, and then we format the field thousands with a case, and we say, okay, good. When it's lower than 1000, it's green. If it's bigger than 100,000 and below 500,000, it's orange, and everything above is dark red. So we see we have this kind of formats here. Another good thing, let me see if I have an example for that so that I don't have to write it myself. No, seems I don't have that. I have to document that. So now let's see, let's take the default data, and let's say we want to format the first name and the last name. So I can give here an array, first name and last name, and I can, like this, assign a formatter directly to multiple fields, so I don't have to put the format that I want to use multiple times. Let's take here like the very flexible one, CSS, and just take the default thing here, and we see we have first name and last name is now bold. Another thing here on the right hand side of the assignment, you can also put an array with various formatters in it. So formatter is also defined by an array, so it's an array of arrays. So let's say, comma is at the wrong place. So let's say we use a second one, and I think that was a line, center maybe. Nah, then let's use background color, and let's say this one is purple. So you can define multiple formatters on multiple fields very, very fast. With the control spacebar, the autocomplete, you can just click and you get a formatter inserted like this. So now the whole thing is also centered. Let's see what else we can do here. We have somewhere uppercase, so everything is uppercase. So this is how you can format your fields quite fast. Oh, here it's documented. Now I see it. So in this cheat sheet here that you find in the manual, you have also this formatting with grouping the formats and the case formatter. One thing that I think is not documented here, you can use a function called fields to get all the fields on the left side, and then all the fields will be formatted with this formatter, and you can exclude certain fields by just giving it to the names that you want to exclude as parameters. So for example, first name I don't want, or last name I don't want. Okay, good. Now, next thing, so now we formatted the fields, but what about if you want to format the whole record? We can use the format record command. This one also has autocomplete, where you have a different amount of colors that you can just click and it will be inserted like a template. And like this, the whole record will be formatted. So this is useful when you use various kind of displays. So this is basically the next in the cheat sheet. So you have this display command here, display, and then we can say how we want to display this. So let's use Control Spacebar again, and we have here the as option. So we have table, panels, cards, tiles, and so on. And let's just use status map as an example. So you see we get a map here, and basically one field here, or one rectangle, is a record. So we can click on this one to get all the data here, and also get the different formats. When we go here and take away this URL none, then the URL should actually be a URL, so we can access the data and create our custom links and so on. One more thing to this display command. So currently this map, we have 1,000 items, but we only see on this page 50. So if you want to show everything, we have to disable the menu. So menu false, and then we have everything on one display. At this point, I just want to show you like what you actually afterwards will do to make this query language useful. So you basically copy that. We go to dashboards. We have a test dashboard here, so we take this one, we go to edit, we add a widget, we go to advanced, and here we have a widget called display query results. So we take this widget, and here we can basically paste our query. We can also execute it to see what kind of results we get, to debug it here and so on. And we can make this one bigger, to just like the field we can make bigger for easier editing. And also here with Control Spacebar we can access the content assist. So we save this, and we basically have our data here on the dashboard. Just to make it a little bit nicer and play around with it, let's say we want to sort the whole thing by the value that is making the color. So we have the whole thing sorted, and I want the red on the top, so we may make a reverse like equals true, save like this. So we have everything nice and orderly, and we see how much of whatever we are monitoring is actually green and red and whatever color it is. Good, so back to our query language. So here are just a few examples that I was basically now just talking about, like how you combine everything, like display the whole thing as tiles, and we can use a format for the title. Maybe I can show this one as well. So when we display things as a panel, so we have here the panels, and if I do not specify the title, it will just take the first field that it encounters. So I can specify here the title fields and give the title a format with these curly braces placeholders, and say the first thing that I want to display is the first index. Then at the end I want to have the second index, and the third index is here. So it basically should now show index, last name, and first name. So when we execute that, we have index, last name, and first name. And you can add whatever you want here. likes tiramisu, or just tiramisu, and we add another index here. That would be 3. So we don't have this added on top here, so let's do that. Likes tiramisu, and it will be added here as well. Good. Now for the syntax, we have basically everything that is not a command or a I have to say it differently. So basically these things are all recognized as strings as long as they do not fit the name of a field. So this is a string in double quotes, in single quotes, in backticks. Also just text will be a string, and these are single strings. And yeah, so one thing that you have to pay attention to is when you use that source, and let's say we have the set command, and we want to set the test to, let's say we want to have the string first name. Now this will now be replaced by the actual value of the first name. The only way how you can circumvent that is you have to rename the field first name. And then this will basically just use the string because it does not match the field name of any of the fields. So as you see, we have here now first name is not first name anymore, but F name. Okay. There is one other way that you can use, and that's basically you just use this function here called literal, and with literal it will just take the literal name. Also, the whole thing when it comes to field names is case sensitive. So index will refer to the field index, but the lowercase index will not refer to the field, so it will also be taken as a string. This can be sometimes confusing and a little bit of a trap, and sometimes stuff does not work, but it's quite rarely happening, and the benefits of flexibility that you get out of it, in my opinion, outweigh the disadvantages. Okay, so we have arrays as well that we can use. So here are some examples. Arrays are specified just by using commas to separate things. So this is one way how to specify an array. You can as well use brackets, square braces, to create arrays. You can create arrays of arrays, and you also can access this whole thing afterwards. So here you have some examples how this looks. So we have the array A, the array B, array C, subarray, and a clone of array. So there is also this function clone if you want to have a copy and modify this copy, because arrays are kind of objects, and if you modify them, so you can basically assign an array to a variable. Let's say copy of clone. So we have the clone and we have the copy, and now if we modify the clone, let's say, what do we have here? Yeah, let's just put into the first one, we say test. Then both the clone and the copy of the clone will contain test, because it's still referencing the same array. But so the reference to array C, so this is this one should not be updated. Array C, exactly. Oh yeah, we update it later. So, but it's then two different arrays. Okay, good. So we also can use objects in this query language. And this is just a simple example. So we have we make some random test data of type various that contains this graph data, which is an object. And we can afterwards then, so I keep this graph data, just this one, and access some of this graph data and change it and add some new things to it. And the whole syntax to access data inside of an object is using this dot operator. So for example, we have data on the graph rounded x, so I can access this by saying graph rounded x, and I just want everything that is smaller 5. I can say I want everything that is smaller 12, then I get everything here. There is in the manual here a whole section about how to use objects, where there is a little bit more data about how you work with objects and so on. This can be very, very useful. Let's just, as a small excursus, let me show you one example of another source called the source web. So this source is used to fetch data from REST APIs that return JSON data. So this is just a sample URL that is provided by this typicode.com. So I can get data from this page. Let me show you how this looks. So this is basically the data that we get. So we get an array, and the query language is just taking everything in the array as an object and puts it as a record and displays it here as data. Now we have sub objects here, and we can actually use and access this data to get a table as we need it. So let's see, we can here use this onBox command to just use the data that we want. So as you see, I used this onBox command and said I want to keep the first name, username, email, address, and I want to have the address, geo, and the company. So the field here is still here, but parts of this field is extracted or unboxed and is put as their own field directly into the record. So when we have everything that we wanted to have from address, we can just remove the address. And let's say we also remove the company. So we have all things as a proper record here. Good, so we have here a parameter. That's also one very nice thing that we can use. So we can define parameters and access them in our query. So how does that work? So we take this thing here and go to dashboard. We add another widget under advanced display query result. And we have the two parameters text and hello. So we have the text value and we have the hello value that we insert here, right? And now we have on the dashboard, we have the parameters. We can say add parameter. Let's say we want to have two text fields. One we name text, one we name hello. And we can put here a default value. Let's say we take here, what do we take? Italian tiramisu. By the way, I'm not Italian, I'm from Switzerland, but I really love tiramisu, and that's why it's everywhere in the documentation and in the test data. Just in case you're wondering why it's everywhere. So and now you see that we put parameters onto the dashboard and it's used in our query. And we can also expose these parameters. When we go again to add widget, and here under the advanced section we have parameters, and we can use here, we can select the parameters. We want to have the text and we want to have the parameter hello. So we save this, and now we can give basically the user of the dashboard a way how he can choose parameters and change these parameters as he wants them. Let's say we say here instead of Italian, let's say Swiss and chocolate. Update, and you see it's also taken over in our query. Good, I would say that's was quite a fast and big overview of our query language. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you for the next video.